A'ja Wilson's night was supposed to be a coronation, the kind of evening that cements a legacy. She walked into the arena draped in applause, holding her MVP trophy high as the crowd roared. The cameras flashed, the confetti shimmered, and the stage was set for the Las Vegas Aces to remind everyone that this was their league, their dynasty, their crown to defend. But when the final buzzer rang, all that glitter felt like a distraction from the truth. The Indiana Fever had stormed Vegas, silenced the noise, and flipped the entire playoff picture on its head with an 89-73 upset that sent shockwaves through the WNBA. From the opening tip, the Aces tried to make this a fight instead of a basketball game. A'ja Wilson, fresh off her MVP honor, played with the edge of someone desperate to prove the award wasn't just symbolic. She pushed, shoved, flopped, and threw elbows, trying to intimidate a Fever team that arrived short-handed and overlooked. But the intimidation never landed. Every cheap shot only made Indiana sharper. Every shove only hardened their resolve. Wilson's antics were supposed to rattle them, but instead they exposed her frustration. By night's end, she shot a brutal 6 for 22 from the field, missing layup after layup, her dominance shattered by Indiana's discipline and poise. The dirty plays piled up, and fans watching saw it all. Lexi Hull was thrown to the ground. Kelsey Mitchell was shoved into Wilson's body on a moving screen. Jackie Young laid blocks that looked more like football hits than basketball defense. But where Vegas leaned into chaos, the Fever found calm. Kelsey Mitchell turned every foul into fuel, erupting for a playoff career-high 34 points. Shot after shot silenced the Vegas crowd, her jumpers cutting through the noise like daggers. Every time the Aces tried to make a run, Mitchell answered with ice in her veins, torching defenders one after another until it became clear no one in Vegas could stop her. She wasn't alone. Odyssey Sims, the veteran who has seen it all, controlled the floor with a balance of fearlessness and composure. Natasha Howard and Brianna Turner battled in the paint, refusing to be bullied, while Aaliyah Boston delivered the most devastating blow of all. On the very night A'ja Wilson was crowned MVP, Boston went toe-to-toe with her former South Carolina teammate and outplayed her completely. She bodied Wilson possession after possession, forced her into contested jumpers, and clogged the paint until Vegas looked like they were playing into quicksand. For all the trophies and titles the Aces carried into the matchup, they had no answer for Boston's calm strength. The irony couldn't have been sharper. The league's darling, celebrated for her dominance, was unraveling on the biggest stage, while the young Fever center, barely in her second year, looked like the true anchor of the series. Wilson threw her hands in the air at officials, begged for whistles, and leaned into flops, but Boston never blinked. She stayed locked in, possession by possession, while the Fever grew more confident with every stop. Vegas coach Becky Hammon had promised before tip-off that Indiana hadn't seen the real Aces yet, brushing off their earlier loss as a fluke. But the real Aces that showed up on this night weren't the juggernaut fans expected. They were sloppy, unfocused, and visibly rattled when the underdog refused to fold. They thought they'd walk over Indiana. Instead, they got walked out of their own gym. And it wasn't just the physical dominance that stood out, it was the mental collapse. When Mitchell buried shots in the fourth quarter, the Aces' swagger evaporated. Their shoulders slumped. Their body language screamed panic. The champions who were supposed to be untouchable looked suddenly vulnerable, their legacy cracking in real time. The Fever, meanwhile, carried themselves like a team that had been disrespected one too many times. Their coach Stephanie White reminded them before the game, play to their standard, not anyone else's. And that's exactly what they did. Lexi Hull's defense on Jackie Young was relentless. She hounded her into uncomfortable angles, forced her to play east to west instead of north to south, and turned her into a non-factor. Turner and Howard boxed out with ferocity, cutting off second chances. Sims dictated tempo, Boston controlled the paint, and Mitchell lit the scoreboard on fire. It was the perfect storm, a short-handed team with nothing to lose playing like every possession was their last, against a champion that assumed the series was already theirs. And then came the stat no one in Vegas wanted to hear. In a best-of-5 series, 72% of teams that win Game 1 go on to win the series. In one night, Indiana not only stole home court, they stole momentum, confidence, and control of the narrative. The post-game contrast was as telling as the box score. Wilson and Hammond talked about missed opportunities, about screens not being fought through, about energy not being matched. But the Fever didn't talk about excuses. They talked about belief. They talked about trust. They talked about playing with freedom because nobody expected them to win anyway. Boston said it best. We're capable of whatever we want. The Aces wanted this night to be a celebration of dominance. Instead, it turned into a cautionary tale about arrogance. A'ja Wilson had the cameras, the trophy, the spotlight, but Aliyah Boston had the game. Kelsey Mitchell had the daggers. And Indiana had the win that flipped everything upside down. Now the series hangs in the balance. Vegas has been embarrassed on their home floor. Their MVP has been outplayed. Their supposed aura of invincibility has been cracked wide open. Indiana, a team missing half its rotation, just proved they belong. Game 2 isn't just another matchup. It's a test of whether the Fever are writing a Cinderella story or rewriting the balance of power in the WNBA. One thing is certain. The Aces thought they'd scare the Fever with elbows, flops, and cheap shots. But intimidation turned into desperation, and desperation turned into defeat. The Fever didn't just survive the fight, they owned it. So now the question goes to you. Was this just one shocking upset, or did Indiana expose the Aces as overrated bullies? Can A'ja Wilson bounce back, or has Aliyah Boston already taken her crown? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next breakdown.